Standard deviation is the measure of how far the numbers in a data set are spread out from the mean. The normal distribution is called the bell curve because it looks like a bell. The abbreviation for standard deviation is sigma, which is shown right here. This is sigma. If I am looking at standard deviation, about 68.2% of the data falls within one standard deviation of the mean. So if the mean is this middle line, there's 34.1% within one standard deviation to the left and one standard deviation to the right of the mean. If I look at two standard deviations, the data is about 95.4% of the data falls within two standard deviations. This is because we have the 68.2%, which falls within one standard deviation, and then you're adding another 13.6% on each side. Lastly, we need to add 2.1% on each side of that. So within three standard deviations is about 99.6% of the data. So if our average is right here and we're asking about one standard deviation, then this is the 68.2% that falls within that one standard deviation. So I have two examples. One example is Jake scored a 94% on his last quiz, which was exactly two standard deviations above the mean of his class. If the standard deviation was 3, what was the mean grade on the test? So if I have my bell curve, and this is going to be my mean, and then we have he was 2 standard deviations above the mean, so he's going to be on the right hand side. So here's 2 standard deviations, and his score was a 94%. So to go down, we have the standard deviation was 3. So here I'm going to have 94 minus 3, which is 91%, and then 91 minus 3, which is 88%. So the mean on the test was an 88% average. The next example says the data set below shows the number of points scored by a basketball team for each of 9 games. If the mean of the data is 83 and the standard deviation is 6.5, identify all the scores that are within one standard deviation of the mean. So if my average is 83 points and the standard deviation is 6.5, we want to add 6.5 and we also want to subtract 6.5. So that way, if this is my bell curve and this is 83, when I go up one standard deviation, that's the plus 6.5, and when I go down one standard deviation, that's going to be the minus 6.5. So I'm going to end up with 89.5 and 76.5. So now I want to look at these numbers and I want to find the numbers in between. So 77 is bigger than 76.5, 79, 80, 83, 87, 88, and then I can't circle the 90 or 92 because that's above one standard deviation, above that 89.5. So that is how you do standard deviation. You add or subtract the standard deviation from the average, and then you look at your scores.